What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. We are currently at my trails and we're about to do some more trick tips. I had to hold off on these for a little bit because I was keeping a secret that I was riding for Haro and I was waiting for the video to drop, and so I wasn't able to do these for a little bit. And then once that dropped, then we kind of got carried away with building this new wood lip. But now we're back and we're gonna jump straight back into it. Let's go. Woo! So we left off with a 1 foot table and I said I was gonna be jumping straight into a normal table. And so that's what we're gonna do today. You might be thinking to yourself, John, I already know how to do a table, but sorry to say it, but you probably don't. Odds are you're probably doing your tables like this. So that is what I like to call a dad table, which is, sorry if it offends you, but it's more of like an old school way of doing a tabletop. So what I'm gonna do today is show you guys how to get it more clicked and just more steezy looking instead of having the legs bowed out. So this trick requires you to do the table to a certain direction depending on which foot you have forward. So I'm left foot forward, and so the correct way for me to do a table would be to pull the left bar up. The reason why you want to do the tables to the front foot is because when you're on the bike, you're actually going to be, instead of boat legging your knees out like this and doing a table like that, you're going to be turning your knee actually into the frame and pushing down with your knee and shin. For this trick, I definitely recommend wearing knee pads or shin pads because a lot of it is within like the knee area that you're just going to be putting all the pressure on your frame to make it pivot up. Alrighty, so now that you know which foot you're turning the bars to, and you know that you're putting your shin into your frame, the next thing would be the wrist. Your outer wrist, or the wrist where the wheel is going towards. So for my case, it would be the left side. You're gonna be turning your wrist like it's a moto grip, but the opposite way, and punching through your armpit like so. You can get very tangled up in this. That's why it's so difficult, and a lot of people veer away from doing a table the proper way. Everyone wants to bow out their legs, turn the bike over sideways, and all you get is horizontal. With doing a table the way I'm showing you to, you actually are able to pull the bike up so far that you can hit your shoulder with your tire. You see pro BMXers and also pro mountain bikers doing this kind of table, and you're always probably wondering like, dang, they're getting so clicked, they're so sideways. You're just like, how do you do that? And the one way to do it is by this technique of you just got to shift your hips and your shin and knee into the frame. So we know now you're keeping your knees inward, you're pushing that left knee or right knee, depending on which side you're doing it, into the frame, twisting that hand and punching through and leaning over like so. But now, if you want to get even more clicked, before you even start the process, what I do is I float my front foot over to the side of the crank like so, almost to where it's like my toe is underneath my frame, and it allows me to twist my hips even more, twist the hand on the grip, and then punch and fold to the point where you actually hit your shoulder. I'm gonna demonstrate what this looks like kind of on the ground. It's gonna be really funky looking, but it's really hard to get all tangled up without just like being fully on the ground. It's way easier in the air because you're just floating and you're able to move the bike in certain ways. You don't have gravity and like all these different weird like tanglements happening. But yeah, I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the ground real quick. That's what it would normally look like. Ooh, it's so hard to do to show. But you really want, like, the main thing is for your hips to be pushing into the frame. And when you do that, it acts as a leverage point and you're able to fold up the bike all the way into your shoulder like so. Oh, that's really hard to do. It's really hard to show. But that's how tangled up you are when you do a table. I'm not saying you have to get that clicked to be an actual table. All I'm trying to do is get people to move their knees into the frame instead of away from the frame. And it just makes the table look way cleaner, and then you have the potential to even get flatter. Alrighty, so now that I've broken it down on the ground step by step, I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. When practicing these, honestly, jumping a straight jump is probably the hardest jump to do them on. A hip to the direction that you table is the easiest because you're turning, your hips are already turning, and it just allows you to get in that position way easier. So I'm gonna run a clip real quick to show you guys what I mean by that on a hip. But I'm gonna try to demonstrate how to do the table like that on this straight trick jump. So just like in the last videos, I'm gonna show you guys like a slow way to move it. So I'm gonna do 3 different steps and yeah, show you guys the progression. So here we have the first go at a table. Right off the lip, I'm putting my knee into the frame and leveraging it up towards me, twisting that wrist and shoving it underneath my armpit. Now you're going to need to untangle yourself, and you're going to be pulling that wrist out from the armpit, leveling yourself out to land smoothly. So here we have the second version of a table, and in this version we're going to be moving the foot. So the only thing different is right off the takeoff, we're going to be floating that front foot and sliding it over to the crank. This allows you to leverage your knee more and get the table flatter. When bringing it back, you have to remember to untwist that wrist and pivot the foot back onto the pedal. Here we have the third version of the table. To really get it completely sideways, you're going to have to exaggerate the movements a lot more. So right off the lip, you're going to be twisting that wrist, shoving that bar end past your armpit, and getting the foot off that pedal. As you can see now, the punching hand is past my armpit, the foot is slid all the way up the crank to the frame, and my front tire is hovering next to my shoulder. In this example, my shoulder doesn't actually touch the tire, but all you really need to do is lean in that shoulder to buzz it. For getting out of the table, it's more or less the same as the last ones. You just have to watch for your shirt when you pull that bar end back from under your armpit, and then pivot that wrist as well as pivot the foot back onto the crank. So that's basically it. You just need to turn in those knees, push, twist that wrist, and punch through your armpit, and you're good to go. It's definitely not one of those tricks that just comes super easily. It's taken me a while to get the hang of it and a lot of practice. It's definitely very discouraging, so take your time with it, work your way up, and just like practice, and you'll get it more clicked. But I hope this video helps you guys get your tables a little bit more sideways and clicked, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.